Hey, you guys, we're back. The wilderness journey is winding down. The old generation, the one that doubted, rebelled, and resisted God's leadership, is fading away. A new generation is stepping up. With that comes change. Moses, who has led these people for 40 years, knows his time is almost up. He won't be the one to lead them into the promised land. But before he goes, there are some critical matters that must be settled. Leadership, inheritance, worship, justice, everything must be in order. Amidst all the law-giving, a unique case arises, one that challenges tradition. 5 sisters, Mahlah, Noah, Hoglah, Milcah, and Tirzah, stand before Moses, Eleazar the priest, and the leaders. Their father, Zelophehad, was from the tribe of Manasseh, and there's a problem. He died in a wilderness without any sons, and according to the current inheritance laws, only sons inherit land. The daughters made a bold but respectful request. Why should our father's name disappear from his clan just because he had no sons? Give us property among our father's relatives. Moses listens, and instead of making a judgment call himself, he takes their case directly to God. And God's answer? They are right. For the first time, the law is amended to allow daughters to inherit land if there are no sons. What started as one family's concern turned into a precedent-setting law that ensures justice for future generations. It's a reminder that God's justice is not bound by human traditions. The law wasn't about favoring men over women. It was about inheritance, staying within the tribes. But now, with this ruling, the law reflects fairness and wisdom. With inheritance matters settled, Moses receives his own final instructions. God tells him, "Go up to Mount Abarim and look over the land I'm giving to the Israelites." Moses climbs the mountain and sees the promised land, the land he has spent his entire life leading these people toward. But he knows he won't enter. His mistake at Meribah, where he struck the rock instead of speaking to it, cost him that privilege. And yet, instead of mourning for himself, Moses' concern is for the people. "Lord," Moses says, "please appoint someone to lead them, so they are not like sheep without a shepherd." God chose Joshua, a man who has walked in obedience and faith. Unlike Moses, Joshua will not have direct conversations with God. He will receive guidance through the priest, Eleazar, and the Urim and Thummim. In a public ceremony, Moses lays hands on Joshua, commissioning him before the entire nation. The people know who the next leader is. There is no confusion. Moses is not clinging to power. He's passing the baton. True leadership isn't about how long you hold authority, it's about preparing the next generation. With leadership settled, God reminds the Israelites how they are to worship Him. This isn't a new command, it's a reaffirmation of what has already been established before the next generation. Every day, 2 lambs are to be sacrificed in the morning and the evening. This was a constant daily surrendering to God. Every Sabbath, an extra offering is made because rest is just as holy as work. Then the festivals, the Passover, reminder of their deliverance from Egypt, the Feast of Weeks, or the Feast of Pentecost, to celebrate God's provision, the Feast of Trumpets, a sacred time of gathering, and the Day of Atonement, a solemn moment of purification. Oh, and the Feast of Tabernacles, to rejoice in God's protection. This wasn't about empty rituals, it was about living in constant remembrance of who God is. God then gives laws about vows. If someone makes a vow before God, it is binding. No excuses, no backing out. For men, it's straightforward. You must keep your word. For women, it's different. If she's under her father's house, her father can nullify the vow if he disapproves. If she's married, the husband has the authority to confirm or cancel the vow. But if no one says anything, the vow stands. The point is, God takes our words seriously. So the next command is a hard one. God tells Moses to send Israel to attack Midian. This is not personal revenge, it's justice. Remember in Numbers 25, the Midianite women seduced the Israelite men into idolatry and sin. This led to 24,000 Israelites dying from a plague. Now God orders judgment. Phinehas leads the army. They completely destroy Midian, including Balaam, the false prophet who once tried to curse Israel. When the soldiers returned, they kept the women alive. And Moses was furious. "Have you learned nothing?" he says. The very ones who led them into sin are still among them. This had to be dealt with. Sometimes partial obedience is no obedience at all. With enemies defeated, laws in place, Israel is closer than ever to the promised land. Moses is nearing his final moments. Joshua is preparing to lead. The next step, deciding who will settle where, and that decision will lead to some surprising twists in the next episode. Be sure to read ahead so that you know what happens next.